By 1996, the PlayStation has ushered in a new era of 3D gaming. Kojima takes stealth action gameplay to the next level with Metal Gear Solid.
I think certainly the stealth element is the biggest influence on all video games today, from Metal Gear Solid and hiding behind walls. I mean, it's almost like if you're playing a game today and your character doesn't suck himself against the wall, then something's missing. You know, you gotta have that stealth element.
It really defined the stealth genre. Since the game was such a hit, there was such a huge influx of stealth titles. I still think Metal Gear does the best. The tension when you're creeping around and you know there's a guard or somebody that's out, you know, looking for you, and you are trying to be so careful.
Theoretically, I believe, apart from the bosses, you can get through the whole game without killing anybody, except for the 6 main people that you've gone in to get. So I thought that was interesting from a gameplay perspective, but I also thought it was interesting from a morality perspective.
And Kojima pushes the boundaries of game design by breaking through the fourth wall.
Put your controller on the floor.
I think what Hideo Kojima did with Metal Gear Solid was kind of take the gamer out of the game itself. When Psycho Mantis is talking to you and your controller is rumbling, or when he knows all the Konami games that you played on the memory save, it takes you out of the game a moment, and you're like, wow, this is one heck of a game. You know, that it can tell like what I'm playing, and it's taking you out of the, you know, just a little bit out of the game, and then it throws you right back into it.
The moment where you realize you have to unplug the controller, that for me was just like, wow, that was incredible. One of the pinnacle moments in gaming, for sure.
Metal Gear Solid is unveiled to the masses at E3 in 1997.
All we did was show a trailer, and what happened was the same people that were there in the morning at E3 were there in the evening. They were just watching it all day long.
People were familiar with the Metal Gear series from the NES days. It was bringing that into a 3D form. People were hooting and hollering. I mean, it was a totally different reaction than what people usually had when they saw a video game on the big screen. I mean, they weren't even playing it. I mean, this is a video, and people were going crazy over it.
Metal Gear Solid follows Snake's mission to stop a band of genetically enhanced terrorists who have taken over a nuclear weapons facility in Alaska.
Well, Kojima's work is entirely visionary in that he doesn't follow the rules of what video games are supposed to be, and when he takes a game and turns it into a so-called cinematic experience, he doesn't turn it into what he thinks a movie should be either. I think he creates a perfect sort of hybrid. It was basically the movie-like presentation of Metal Gear Solid that really took people aback. When you first turned on the game, and it looked like the intro to a movie, and he's swimming around and the credits are showing, and then he gets out, and all of a sudden there's gameplay for a little bit, and you're introduced to the stealth element of it. You run into the elevator, and then as soon as you run in the elevator, the credits start rolling again, and he's pulling off his, you know, sub gear and everything, and, you know, chills are just going up and down your spine, and you're like, man, I'm ready to roll with this game.
The masses finally get their hands on Metal Gear Solid in September 1998. Kojima's game turns the industry upside down. 350,000 copies are sold in its first weekend. It will go on to sell 6 million copies worldwide.
When you have a great director take on a movie, you know, it really has that tone to it. When Quentin Tarantino does a movie, it has that tone to it. Well, when Hideo Kojima does a game, you feel it. I mean, he has a very specific view of storytelling and gameplay and how those two should interact. I knew that there wasn't anything like it, and I knew that if we did it well, it would be huge.
They put in so much stuff in that game. There was humor.
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
There was seriousness and there was drama. That it was definitely more than a video game experience.
In a way, the first Metal Gear Solid was like the first Matrix. People didn't really know what it was like, and people really didn't care about it. But once it came out, people loved it.
Metal Gear Solid thrusts Kojima and Konami into the limelight. But how long will the fame and fortune last? After the release of Metal Gear Solid in 1998, Kojima and his team of talented developers begin work on Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty.
After the success of Metal Gear Solid, we knew that people expected a lot from the sequel, so I was constantly under this pressure to do something great. So it was definitely a different experience.
By now, Solid Snake, the game's main character, is nearly a household name.
Well, Solid Snake is this kind of loner assassin type character that, you know, maybe that's why I like him so much. He seems to have this mysterious, you know, he's got a very male testosterone mystique about him, and I guess I find that very attractive. By being that mysterious, you really want to delve into that personality, and I think that's what makes him such a cool character, you know, and the voice.
How you doing, kid?
Well, Solid Snake is a guy who has been used all of his life by the military and by his superiors. He's the ultimate soldier.
Konami releases the PlayStation 2 version of Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty in the fall of 2001. The game includes plenty of improvements to the Metal Gear formula, as well as a soundtrack by Hollywood composer Harry Gregson Williams.
Other things in the game that people found out was the first-person shooter mode. It created a new way to look at Metal Gear Solid, and you really were even impressed by the physics of the game. It was just a whole new thing, and it took Metal Gear to a whole new level.
But the new sequel has a big secret that catches many gamers off guard.
I was in love with the game the first couple of chapters, I guess you'd call them, and you're playing through as Snake, and it was just incredible. But then suddenly you're playing as this Raiden character, and you're like, what is this? Where's Snake?
I think a lot of people were disappointed that you were alternate character, Raiden. I think it made a lot of hardcore fans maybe unhappy.
Once again, Kojima gives his game a very cinematic feel, but some gamers think it goes a little too far.
You passed with flying colors.
Sons of Liberty had lots of movie footage, lots of stuff to watch, and you put the controller down for literally 20 minutes sometimes.
I know a lot of people complained that there was too much dialogue in the game, or the dialogue was, a little bit cheesy.
Leave it to me.
Despite what a lot of people said about too much cinematics and a difficult to follow storyline, I still loved it.
Metal Gear Solid 2 is a hit and sells 7 million copies. In 2002, Konami releases an enhanced version of their new sequel called Metal Gear Solid 2: Substance for the PC, PS2, and Xbox. And in 2004, Konami releases a remake of the original Metal Gear Solid for the GameCube, titled Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes.
Well, the Twin Snakes game only was released on the GameCube, but it is based on the first game that came out on the PlayStation. It was also kind of a shaking of hands of two great developers, Miyamoto and Kojima. Apparently, according to the story, they were eating dinner one night, and Miyamoto said, hey, why don't you make Metal Gear for the GameCube? And the suggestion was as simple as that, and they went forward with it. Then they contacted Silicon Knights, the creators of Eternal Darkness, and obviously they were more than happy to work on the game.
The remake updates the gameplay, and a renowned Japanese director is brought in to redo the classic cutscenes.
My name is Ryuhei Kitamura. The way that Kid Morrison reintroduced and retold the story from just a cinematic standpoint, I think worked really well. The idea of incorporating all the Metal Gear Solid 2 gameplay into the original Metal Gear Solid game really worked well too.
Meanwhile, Kojima works Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater for the PS2, a prequel to the Metal Gear series.
Metal Gear Solid 3 is taking things to a whole other level. I think Kojima is really challenging himself with outdoor environments, doing stealth, but doing it in a much different way than in these enclosed environments. I think it's going to be a really cool opportunity to try out some new things.
This is a trilogy bound by one grand theme. In order to put an end to the series, you're basically eating up the snake in this game. That's why I called it Snake Eater.
Today, the Metal Gear Solid series has countless imitators.
There's been a tremendous amount of copycat games, or games that are almost identical, or sort of mixtures and mergers of other sort of genres, but mostly have a stealth aspect to it.
So people can imitate my games, and if what they come up with is enjoyable, I think that that's fine.
And in 2002, the man who was once ridiculed by his fellow game developers is named one of the top innovators of the year by Newsweek magazine.
When I got the first notice, or offer for that article in the magazine, I thought it was about the 10 biggest people in the video game industry. And then it turned out it was the 10 biggest people who would be shaping the world. I was surprised. The biggest change probably was within my family and among my community. My friends, many of these people say, "Are you ever going to stop working on video games? Aren't you going to start moving on?" Then when they saw this article, they went, "Oh, maybe he's actually doing something he should be doing."
But fans of Kojima and his Metal Gear series have always known that he was destined for greatness.
Tonight, we honor the creators of the fantastic Metal Gear franchise, Hideo Kojima!
He is an icon, there's no question. But beyond that, I think he's got a lot more stories to tell, and you know, I'm one of the people waiting to hear his next story.
And I still think, even today, the whole industry is still reeling from the impact that Metal Gear Solid has done for the video game industry.
I always told myself I'd always be in the front line creating video games, even when I reached 100. Now that's changed to, even after I die, even as a ghost, I'd still like to create games. It's so fun. The Japanese are not really good at expressing their thoughts with words, but I guess if I were to put it into simple words, I just love creating video games.